Introducing QuantFlow. Imagine a world in which payroll runs itself.
Hello everybody, back once again with the Brother Roo.
Boom.
Now listen to this. We have been talking for a good couple weeks now about the possibility of Quant and Zebec. Okay, so for one, we recently did a new video about QuantFlow, and that's separate from the Overledger. In that video, I'll give you the little answer, but we appreciate if you watch the video. It mentions specifically payroll. Okay? Well, guess what? We're going to confirm some things with actual visuals and proof. Before we get into today's outline, it's the Decent wallet. It helps benefit myself and Roo on both channels. Check it out. Get yourself a significant discount. And on top of that, believe it or not, if you buy two, you get even more of a discount.
Yep.
So you want to find
$99.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you want to check that out and find out more info about that. We're going to play that, and we're going to come right back.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. It's just a few taps. You can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
All right, welcome back. So what do we have? Well, we're going to start off with this. So is there really something in regard to Quant and Zebec? And is it a partnership? Well, it's not really a partnership, but it's what's indirectly involved, and more importantly, with the Overledger. For real visuals. But before we get to there, we want to connect it all. We want it to be a nice, solid visual piece to talk about, conversational piece. So for one, we're going to take you over to zebec.io, and on this particular part, halfway down the page, it mentions Zebec Black, Reloadable, and Limitless. And on the right side, DePIN network. Now, we're not talking about Jasmine. Jasmine talks a lot about DePIN and AI, but there's a lot of projects that talk about DePIN. So interoperable blockchain infrastructure and Zebec POS device. Key word is obviously interoperable. Check this out, because when we take you further into this, back to the Zebec 3.1 white paper. Roo did an excellent job getting into the weeds about that white paper. I also expanded a little bit about Jim Breyer of Breyer Capital, right? Yeah. Sometimes we speak too much, and then it kind of just blankets over other things, and
right.
It was a little late in the day, so forgive us. But where the case be, some key findings, because that was obviously the Blackstone plugin. Blackstone is just as significant as BlackRock.
100.
So on this search, which is page 10 of 32, it's this from the Zebec white paper 3.1, and that was last updated March 11th, just for your own reference if you're wanting to nerd it out. But it mentioned Solana-based tech, so core technologies, everybody, with a middleware layer simplifies IRL blockchain use, ZAI, Zebec AI, powered fraud detection and compliance. Okay, awesome. But right below that, it says multi-chain infrastructure, and the highlight should be these two, or three, I should say. So number one, Ethereum. Number two, Base, because we know obviously Coinbase. And the other one is going to be an emphasis on basically where it says like and more. Well, more would be Solana, and that's already on the one above it. Okay.
Right.
So taking you further into this, here's Pipe Dream. We know with Quant's Overledger, there is 3 integrations. The zero code, because you're a coder.
Yeah.
All right. So no lines of code, I should say, is Make integration, which I have an account for. Then there is a Zapier integration, which I also have an account for. And there's Pipe Dream. Now, Pipe Dream, I don't have an account for it, but the nice thing is you just go through a site and you can find whatever you want. Now, here's where I want to point some of this out before we get into this conversational piece. On this, it says you can integrate the Coinbase API with the Overledger API, set up the Coinbase API trigger to run a workflow, which integrates, of course, with Quant's Overledger API, Pipedream's integration platform to allow to integrate Coinbase to Overledger, free for developers. Now, Pipedream, if you're not familiar with them, that is basically like 3 lines of code, basically. It means that if you're a developer, you can tweak this out to fit your needs. Okay, and when you go here, you see, for example, the demos, but execute sign transaction with Quant's Overledger. You can see how this all works. Like, read from the smart contract. Again, all this orchestration. Now, keep that in mind as we go further into this. Let's take to this next part. This will be another area of emphasis. Pipedream has the integration of the Coinbase Commerce API with the Overledger API. Now, you may be wondering, like, okay, what's the big deal when it comes to some of this? Well, again, same type of thing. You see to prepare a smart contract, and you see the whole thing of the integration. Now, this is where we're going to bring in some really neat things here. On this, you go over to Commerce. It mentions this, a new standard for on-chain payments. And it mentions specifically the easy way to accept payments from around the world, instant settlement, low fees, broad asset support, built on top of on-chain payment protocol. Now, when I click on this, integrate crypto payments with a few lines of code. Okay, where are we really going with this? Well, we're going to check out the documentation. But before we get even into this, explain a little bit more to you guys. So, Rue, you mentioned that when it came to ADP, one of you guys, I think, made a comment or something in one of the videos, just in the comment section of, he works security, and basically it's like, what's the big deal with Zebec? And you mentioned with Zebec, it's like, well, what the big deal is, it's also part of the mix, like even like Ripple XRP, like you're getting instant payments and
right.
so on.
You're getting real-time payments. And you're right. The guy was like, oh, well, I get paid every day with my security job. But he doesn't realize Zebec is real-time payments. Like, literally, as the second hits on the clock, you're getting paid every second. So, literally real-time.
Okay. Well, when I see these statements about, for example, integrate crypto payments with a few lines of code, and this other mention of universal standard and enable consistent ways to integrate this into an app, I'm thinking like, okay, back to what Zebec shared with their app. And we're not going to get so much into the black card and all that. Some of you guys in the community I saw, for example, Terrell, shout out to Terrell. You just recently got your Zebec black card, I think he announced, which is cool.
Yep, the carbon card.
Carbon card, excuse me.
Yeah.
So a lot of you guys are taking advantage of some of this stuff. But even when we get further into this, Coinbase Commerce On-Chain Payment Protocol, and this mentions specifically some key things here that I think, again, it's just really, really interesting when you see the terminology. So if you're wondering about why we point this out, the protocol itself allows payers and merchants to transact using blockchain as a settlement layer and source of truth. It says guarantee settlement, and there's merchants always receive the exact amount that they request. It says removal of payment errors. It is no longer possible to pay the wrong amount to the wrong address. But as of July 31st of last year, so again, not super long ago, you see that this commerce platform, this protocol has already been deployed in the following locations. Now, I will put emphasis on Base, Ethereum Sequoia testnet, because we were talking about Quant, and you also see Base with Sequoia testnet. Now, again, why point out some of these key things? Well, it's this part right below it. Because when you see some of this, you're going to see how it all comes together. And actually, excuse me, let's take you to the next page. So it mentions here, welcome to the Commerce API. Commerce lets merchants accept cryptocurrency for their goods and services by API or UI. Well, Quant is API everything, okay? So it gets interesting when we get into this because it talks about, and here is your Zebec connection, accept hundreds of currencies. Customers pay with their preferred currency which seamlessly is converted to USDC with the Commerce Onchain payment protocol. Guaranteed settlement, no volatility, automatically settle payments in USDC, avoiding avoiding overpayments, underpayments, or network and asset mismatches. So we know about Zebec and Circle.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a nice discovery with this, and some people say, well, I don't see the whole thing with anything with Zebec or anything with Quant yet. Just you got to see where this is all going. Because when we take you further into it, we'll take over back to Coinbase.com/developer, and it's this one, right? Excuse me. And it says developer platform product / exchange API. It says use our fixed/REST APIs and WebSocket fees to get direct access to order placement and real-time market data. Whoa.
And just so
go ahead.
People know, an API is an application program interface. So essentially, it's boiling a program down to quick functions. So like if I made a program to like play a record or something, I would make an API to play, stop, fast forward, and rewind the record. So essentially, I would give a person functions to play, stop, rewind, and fast forward the record. So essentially, that's what a API is for those who are not versed in code. It's just a simple set of instructions to operate like a program.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about payroll in like real-time market data? I mean, that's another thing I want to point out here. So again, emphasis will be on REST APIs. We'll explain that here in a bit. And here's why. Because as I would always say, boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew. This is from HOC, and Rue's done an excellent job on X lately with his mind maps. Well, they did kind of a little quant mind map. It says here from the House of Chimera, understanding quant network, Overledger, MDApps, and beyond. Overledger network enables interoperability using a representative state transfer application, programming interface, REST API, by the way, to connect various DLTs. And on the part that says specifically REST APIs, it says allows developers to create apps without new libraries, software, facilitating data between systems, blockchains. So when they boast, Rue, the whole thing of interoperability, go ahead.
That's huge, guys. As a developer, as a programmer, I can tell you that's really, really huge. Normally, if you give someone a software library, you're giving them an API so they can make use of a program. So you still have to go connect that library in that's going to be compiled, and you still have to use like the APIs when appropriate. So say I made some type of system to play records, right? So now I'm going to take that play and I'm going to put it in the places that I want to have the record played. So as in a sense, if I'm using a UI, I'm going to put it in the place wherever you press the play button, that's when the record is going to play. So they're saying like you don't even need the libraries or anything like that. Like we're going to make it that dead nut simple for you.
That's a great analogy. I'm glad you broke it down that way because that's exactly what's going on. And on top of it, it's the bottom right. We won't get so much into the DLT gateway. I think you guys, for the most part, if you follow Quant, you know about that. But it's this part about multi-DLT smart contracts support cross-chain atomic swaps between various blockchains. This is why I was sharing the whole thing earlier about Solana, Base, Ethereum. Facilitating the direct exchange of cryptocurrencies across different blockchains without intermediaries. Now, as we take you further into it, what does it state in regards to the documentation from Coinbase.com? It says Coinbase Exchange offers multiple connectivity options tailored to your trading and data needs. And what does it mention on the first bullet point? REST API for lower frequency trading and general request. Okay, number 2, fixed order entry API for higher frequency trading. And then the third one, WebSocket feed for market data. Back to the very beginning of, I think, what we shared about market data and, of course, the whole thing of Zebec. All right, now we're getting close to the end. Here's why this is good. Because when you go to docs.overledger.dev, it mentions specifically this, app interoperability. I'll try to blow this up a little bit more. So on this, it talks about keen to accelerate your blockchain journey and have interoperability to your app. Right. Like, it's not just Zebec, but we'll show you the key discovery about that. It's about the right stack. Data transfer bridge across blockchains. And here's the interesting part about that. This guy, and I showed this before, shows how the interoperability basically works. And actually, I'll just play just a brief thing about this. It's this step right here, without nerding out too much for you guys. So he gets over to the part about JSON, and basically you see this Ethereum supported testnet, and this just makes the interoperability basically work. It's that middle step, and here it is actually right here. Excuse me. Yeah, it's this middle step right here. So right after Overledger where you reach JSON, when that happens, it doesn't matter if it's Solana, Ethereum, Base, you name it. And I'll show you the example of what I'm talking about here. So what's interesting is when we take you further into this, it says data transfer bridge from legacy system to blockchain. I want to transfer my data from API to a blockchain, and they have all the steps on how this basically works. Cross-chain transactions. Go ahead.
Just so you guys know, if you go back up to the JSON part, JSON's an easy way to represent data. They basically represent it in these little blocks, and those little blocks are recognizable by anything that recognizes JSON. So imagine, like, again, if we use the record analogy, I had a record by, like, title of the record, artist, and name of the record, year made. JSON puts this in nice little blocks so that anything that recognizes JSON can recognize that data. So when it says the Overledger can do this, it's basically saying now I can translate any type of internet of value. So any value, I can put it into these nice little data blocks that any computer that can read JSON can read.
Right. Or anything on payroll can read.
All
right. And you guys will see that here in a second. I promise. It's going to get good.
Nice.
So what I like is you can read non-blockchain API. So again, when we talk about those legacy systems, it's all there. Cross-chain transactions. Think about this because now we're talking about something with Solana. We know about Zebec and Solana. So look what it says. Literally, word for word, quote, I want a transaction on one blockchain to trigger a transaction on another blockchain. Well, how does that all come together? It explains how it does that. I don't want to get too nerdy about this, but the key thing is it's all there. Now check this out. All right, how would Quant integrate Solana apps for interoperability? Because we are talking about basically, like ZBCN, Zebec, and so on. Back to what Rue mentioned. Was Rue right? Yes, he is. It literally shows it right here. Overledger connects to Solana nodes using Solana's JSON RPC API. For example, the get block, you mentioned blocks earlier, get transaction, or the get account info. In this case, we're talking about payroll. So the account on Joe Smith, the account on, Rebecca Layton. Why haven't I mentioned Rebecca Layton? Oh, geez, high school. All right, moving along. All right. Moving along. All right. This allows Overledger to read Solana's blockchain state, such as an account balance, transaction history, or program data, or like payroll history. Okay? So that's important to point that out. And then again, cross-chain messaging. So multi-ledger transactions. For Solana app, this could mean sending a message or triggering an action on another chain. For example, Ethereum, even Cosmos. And again,
so let's
Solana.
stay there.
It says, for example, Solana. Go ahead.
Yeah. So a lot of programming is event based, which is really easy. It's simple, and it's easy to understand in the brain, and it's relatively easy to code it that way. But now imagine an event happens in one ledger, and that event triggers another event in another ledger. That's really cool to think about. Kind of geeking out as a programmer to see something like this. But like now imagine like someone like figured out some derivative, and that derivative bet triggered for someone to sell some like assets or sell like a commodity in another ledger. Like the possibilities of this are really endless if you just chain events to events to events.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it breaks this down. But the point we wanted to establish was Ethereum, Solana, and Base. So check on all three. Now we're gonna wrap this up here soon. This is really good. So for one, if you go to pipedream.com, top left, yeah, I know. You see ADP, easy and accurate payroll management. That's for the premium service of Pipedream. And Rue, are you ready to boil it? Are you ready to mash it?
Oh yeah.
Are you ready to stick it in a stew?
Let's go, bro.
Boom! Bombshell moment for you all. Integrate the Overledger API with the ADP API. Wow, right. And like I said, set up the Overledger API trigger to run a workflow. And again, the whole orchestration. Do we have smart contract functionality, Rue? Yes, we do. Can we see example of that? Yes, we can. New account event instantly from the Overledger API. That's the Quant network. Yes, that requires QNT token. New smart contract event instantly from that. Here's the popular integrations about this. Execute signed transaction, prepare smart contract transaction, read from that smart contract, sign it. So this means everything that we thought was a possibility is 100% a real thing because ADP is the connector. We even had that one lady that we referenced in the past. She was a former CEO of ADP, and she sits on the board with Zebec.
Yep. Bro, that's huge. Huge. Right? Oh, man. Like, I wonder if you can go to Zebec just to show people this so they understand what's going on. So Lisa Robbins, former CFO, ADP. And if you scroll down a little bit more, we have George, I'm going to say Steckert, former president, ADP. Okay? And these are all members of, if you scroll up a little bit to CEO, these are all members coming from COO Simon Babakani's team, okay? So Zebec is kind of a merger of like two different teams. Sam's team, Tapalia and Simon Babakani's team. So all of these guys are coming from, these ADP guys are coming from Simon's team. So very, very huge here. And mind blown, Max, for this. Mind blown.
Yeah, I remember calling Rue early this morning. I think it was like at 9:50 in the morning. I was like, man, you're not going to believe this. Everything that we thought was a possibility is a real thing.
Right.
So,
and we just hinted at it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Quant said something about payroll like the next day after the video came out. And then now this information.
If anything, you guys saw it in the brief trailer at the very, very beginning. I had to, if you're wondering why it was kind of somewhat muted, because we don't want to get hit with the copyright. So, but yeah, just fast forward to that key part about payroll.
Yeah.
So, anyway, any closing thoughts?
Just really bullish about Zebec, really bullish about Quant, of course. So one of the things I think you guys should check out, and I'll do a video on it coming up soon. If you can go to my X account, I have a mind map here I'm going to be breaking down for you guys. But it's no coincidence when you were looking at the Zebec white paper and it connected all these different networks for Zebec, Solana, Base, Sui, Apatos, Near. All of these connections are here with all of these different men that are kind of partnered together on all these different crypto projects. But I'm going to break this down on a video on my channel coming soon. But definitely go over to my X because you'll get material like this. Of course, my patrons get it first. But you'll get materials like this where you can do some research on Zebec and other things connecting Zebec.
Sounds good. And if you guys listen to the entire outline, simply do us a favor and type in these key 3 letters into the comments, and that is ADP.
Love it.
And we'll know that you listened to the entire outline. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. We will see you on the next one.
Peace.
So will the real men get up? I know you're fed up, ladies, but keep your head up. Child, things are gonna get easier. Keep your head up, child. Things will get brighter. Oh, keep your head up, child. Things are gonna get easier. Keep your head up, child. Things will get brighter. Hey yo, I remember Marvin Gaye used to sing to me. He had me feeling like black was the thing to be. And suddenly the ghetto didn't seem so tough. And though we had it rough, we always had enough. I huffed and puffed about my curfew and broke the rules, playing with the local crew and had a smoke or two. And I realized mama really paid the price. She nearly gave her life to raise me right. And all I had to give her was my pipe dream of how I rock the mic and make it to the bright screen. I'm trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. It's hard to be legit and still pay your rent. And in the end it seems I'm heading for the pen. I try to find my friends, but they're blowing in the wind. Last night my buddy lost his whole family. That's how I rock my mic and make it to the bright screen. I'm trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. It's hard to be legit and still pay your rent. And in the end it seems I'm heading for the pen. I try to find my friends, but they're blowing in the wind. Last night my buddy lost his whole family. It's gonna take the man in me to talk to this insane. Though he seems to never let up. I try to keep my head up and still keep from getting wet up. You know it's funny when it rains, it pours. Keep your head up, child. Things will get brighter. Oh, keep your head up, child. Things are gonna get easier. Keep your head up, child. Things will get brighter. And to all the ladies having babies on their own, I know it's kind of rough when you feeling all alone. Daddy's long gone, and he left you by your own. So thank the Lord for my kids, but then nobody else won't let you all by yourself. Cause I think we can make it, in fact I'm sure. And if you fall, stand tall and come back for more. Cause ain't nothing worse than when your son wants to know why his daddy don't love him no more. You can't complain, he was helpless. Held up my hand without a man feeling helpless. Because there's too many things for you to deal with. Dying inside, but outside you're looking fearless. While the tears is rolling down your cheeks, you steady hoping things don't all that was weak. Cause if it did, you couldn't take it. And don't blame me, I was given this world, I couldn't make it. And now my son's getting older and older and older from having the world on his shoulders. While the rich kids is driving me, I'm still trying to hold on to my surviving friend. And it's crazy, it seems it'll never let up. But please, you got to keep your head up.